Hi, I'm Elissa with ByAnnie.com and Patterns by Annie. We've got another great ByAnnie Patchport video for you today. Did you know that we've been hosting the Local Quilt Shop Contest since 2018? That's 8 years of promoting local quilt shops around the world. During that time, we've loved learning about so many amazing stores across the globe. We've made friends and seen shops grow year after year. So today, we thought we'd take some time to revisit some of our oldest friends to see how the sewing community has continued to thrive. As a special treat, we'll be heading to the very first Local Quilt Shop Contest winner, and we'll be hearing from Annie to hear about her favorite pattern to revisit. Plus, we brought in our good friend, Elissa Ziccardi of Quilting Elissa, to talk about the friendships she's made in the sewing community. Stay tuned for all this and more in today's episode of ByAnnie Patchport. We first became acquainted with Cary Quilting Company in 2023 when they won the regional title for North Carolina in our local quilt shop contest. This shop had humble beginnings, offering only 400 bolts of fabric when they first opened. 12 years later, they offer over 6,000 bolts of fabric, including their newest edition, hand-dyed solids from cherrywood fabrics. Customers have loved working with these high-quality solids. Cary Quilting Company has also committed to carrying over 350 Robert Kaufman Kona solids. While the shop offers thousands of pattern fabrics, owner, Julianne Walther, specializes in solids in her own works. Julianne is an extremely talented portrait quilter, having many of her quilts featured in competitive shows. This past year, her quilt Awesome Avery was accepted at AQS Quilt Week in Daytona Beach, Florida, and Paducah, Kentucky. And her submission into the 2024 Cherrywood Challenge was selected to join their touring show. Somehow, despite their very busy schedule, Cary Quilt Company found extra time to support the quilting community too. Cary Quilting was a gold sponsor and vendor at QuiltCon 2024 in Raleigh. They were also a collection point for hundreds of donated quilts for those affected by Hurricane Helene. What an incredible shop! This month, Cary Quilting Company is holding a ByAnnie trunk show to celebrate their third consecutive LQS regional win. This also accompanies an exciting event they're calling Show Us Your ByAnnie. Be sure to follow hashtag ShowUsYourByAnnie to see some of the fantastic projects the Cary Quilting Company community has made. As we were writing the script, Cherrywood announced their finalists for this year's challenge, Abyss. Julianne's entry was once again selected to join their touring show. Congratulations to Julianne on her incredible display of artistry. We can't wait to see her quilt in the virtual gallery and in person at one of the show's many stops. As sponsors of the Cherrywood Challenge, we'd also like to offer congratulations to all this year's finalists. As the challenge grows every year, the craftsmanship and creativity continues to reach new heights. Or I guess, in the case of the Abyss Challenge, new depths. We look forward to seeing all your entries and to continue sponsoring the contest in future years. I'm guessing not many of you are familiar with the tiny town of Carson City, Michigan. But those of you who do know this town certainly already know of our next stop, Seven Sisters Quilt Shop. Although Carson City has a small population of barely over 1,000 people, the town saw an influx of visitors last June and July for the All-Michigan Shop Hop. During the Shop Hop, Seven Sisters had roughly 2,800 visitors stop into their shop. Many of these visitors had never been to the shop before, but instantly fell in love with the bright colors and the smell of homemade cookies. This year, the sisters Rachel and Katie are prepared for even more visitors and have decorated the store for the occasion. This year's All-Michigan Shop Hop runs through the end of July, so stop into Seven Sisters Quilt Shop to see why they won the regional title for Michigan in the LQS contest for the past 2 years. You'll quickly realize why the staff is renowned for their kindness and warmth.
Hi guys, I thought I would talk to you a little bit about a pattern that I like to return to again and again. And this is our pattern On the Go 2.0 and the original version. So this is the bag as it existed in the beginning. It was just a simple little bag, great for travel. It had lots of pockets to put everything in, but there were several things I wanted to change. First of all, it had a really skinny little strap that used half-inch hardware, which is hard to find, and it was kind of uncomfortable and not real sturdy. So that was always the thing that wore out first on me. So that's one thing I knew I wanted to change. It was also quite narrow, and I knew I wanted to make it a little bit deeper. It had some pockets inside this flap that we got so many questions from customers on of how to sew them. It didn't make sense. And truthfully, they ended up being kind of a pain in the rear. So we just decided on the new version to skip those. Other than that, a whole lot of it stayed the same. Oh, it also closed with Velcro, which was kind of a noisy thing and didn't always last well, and it would catch on your clothes. So let me tell you a little bit about On the Go 2.0. Oh, let me show you the inside. So the inside of the older version had 4 credit card pockets at the top, and those extended all the way into the seams. So you had a whole lot of bulk right here, which when you were binding something as little of this, made it a little bit more of a chore. So we've changed how that's done on the new one. So this is the latest version of the pattern. We made it deeper so it holds more, which I really love. We eliminated the pockets inside here. We kept the pocket here. We put a magnet in so it closes really nicely and easily. And we left this pocket. This is one of my favorites. It's where I put my ID when I go shopping or through the airport. And then we left the big pocket at the end, but we changed the handle completely. So we put a nice thick strap on it that attaches. I have no idea why that strap is attached to the zipper pull, but it should attach to the triangle ring here on the side. And then on the inside, we changed how the pockets are made. And we put in some slip pockets, which actually here I can show you on this one. This is one that shows just the pockets. So we sewed them straight to the bag so that they don't add extra bulk in that side seam. And the pocket that's on the back hides all the stitching lines attaching those. So there are so many different ways that you can customize this and make it your own. On this one, we did some really fun quilting, just odd geometric lines here, there, and everywhere. You can see them fairly well on this inside part of it. On this one, we made it pretty much just exactly the way the pattern's written, using this green for the outside and kind of a turquoise for the inside. And then we took this one and took that very same fabric but switched it around. So now the green is the lining and the turquoise is the outside. And rather than make the slip pocket out of vinyl, I left that off and made a paper pieced block to decorate the front. I love this little bag. This is one we made using some fabric from Tula Pink, and we fussy cut the fabric so everything's centered. There are some magnets, one right here and one right here, so I even fussy cut the little facings that cover those. I always have to show this off because I'm so proud of what a good job I did on both of those. So it's a great way to make things shine. This one is one that we just recently finished, and on this one we kind of went crazy. We used Tula Pink's New Line Gray Work and the Seal the Deal fabric. I love how it looks like this one's kind of underwater. And then we used all kinds of her different true colors for the bindings on it to give it some fun colors. And since we were doing that, we just went ahead and used a different fabric for the facing here, and we used some of this one. We forgot about the direction that it's going, so we've got 2 different directions for our little facing here compared to the bag. So that's something to pay attention to if you're making this, is to think about which way the fabric's going to go when you cut it out. We did something fun on the handle or strap on this one. We had the stripe, and I don't remember exactly why we did this, but we did it so cut a narrow piece and a wider piece that we sewed together, so we just have a strip of the stripe going up and down the strap to give it some real colorful interest there too. So that's On the Go. I hope you'll enjoy making one and customizing it to fit your needs.
Did you know that the first shop to win the grand prize in our local quilt shop contest received just a little more than 200 votes? This year, over 65 stores had over 200 votes. It's been fun to see how much the local quilt shop contest has grown since it started in 2018, and that original store has kept growing alongside us. In the 2025 LQS contest, Old Country Store received nearly 900 votes. That's over 4 times what they received in their first year competing. Over the years, we've gotten to know Dean and Jan Mast, the owners of the Old Country Store, quite well. We always look forward to catching up with them at market and seeing them compete every year in our contest. This past year marked a huge milestone for Dean and Jan as they celebrated their 10-year anniversary as shop owners. Both current and former staff came together to celebrate this incredible accomplishment. Congratulations to Dean and Jan for an amazing 10 years. Since we last checked in with the Old Country Store, they've added a brand new quilt retreat called The Loft. Right next door to their retail shop, this retreat has the same rustic charm that customers love about the Old Country Store, with plenty of amenities to make creating as easy as possible. Retreat attendees are encouraged to take one of the dozens of classes the shop offers during their stay. As an extra bonus, they also get a shopping discount during their stay. Sewists have loved their stays at the Loft, so much so that thus far every group has rebooked for the next year. That's high praise.
When I think about the sewing community, I think about all the important relationships I've made along the way. The very first people to encourage me when I started ByAnnie were my friends in my local quilt guild. 25 years later, I still have my dear friends here in St. George, but I've also made friends all over the world. I've gotten to meet some of the kindest and most talented sewists in the world and call them my friends. One friend I know I can always go to when I need inspiration or when I'm having trouble getting a new pattern just right is Elissa Ziccardi with Quilting Elissa. Elissa is a textile artist and ByAnnie maker who's developed an inspirational, bright aesthetic. Her attention to detail and creative mind takes every bag, jacket, and shoe and makes them into pieces of art. I am so excited to have her here with us today to talk about some of the friendships she's made in our community. Hi, Elissa.
Hey, Annie.
I am so happy to have you on today. You really are the perfect person to talk to about friendship. You just make friends wherever you go.
Thanks. I am so happy to be here. It's always such a treat to get the opportunity to catch up and visit.
Yep, we don't get that too often. A couple times a year at Market and H&H. So
That's right.
I wish you lived closer so we could sew together more often.
Oh my gosh, that's the dream.
It would be really fun. So to start off, can you just share a little bit about the value of finding a sewing community?
Yeah, absolutely. So when you're finding and looking for your sewing community, these are really your people. They're the people that support you, that lift you up, that you can collaborate with. For me personally, my sewing community is all over the globe. I'm super fortunate to have friends that are in different parts of the world that I know I can count on. I can bounce ideas off of. Like you were saying, same thing. If you're stuck on something, you've got this community of friends that are surrounding you that are saying, it's okay, step back, let's look at this from another direction, and really help guide you and believe in you, especially when you're in that, this is never going to end. I've been writing this pattern forever. I've cut this idea, I've recolored it in my mind, or I've cut and built a million blocks and now I just have way too many ideas going on. For me, the sewing community really comes into play in those spots to help me focus, remind me to come back to my balance, to find my zero spot, right? That happy spot where we know we're just creating effortlessly. So I feel really, really fortunate to be surrounded by so many people in the industry as professionals, both as friends, collaborators, industry partners, but also that community extends into the classroom. I have a really great community of makers and students and other educators at local quilt shops, at guilds all over the country, where we really just get to sit and support each other. And that's the best part about finding your community. So as soon as you find it, you know it, it's the place you go back to, and they just make you feel at home.
That is so true. And the thing that I would add to that too is you know that they're going to be honest with you. They're not going to say, oh, that's beautiful, even though maybe it needs a few more tweaks, and
Right.
that they will give you really helpful and honest input and let you take it the way that you want to go, but they're there to really help you find that way. So that's one thing that I really like about that sewing community. So what ways have you become a better sewist because of your relationships with others in the sewing community?
Yeah. So the ways that I feel that I've become a better sewist in the community is taking off of something that you just said about those that are going to be honest with you and striving so that you get to become the most authentic version of yourself, so that whatever it is you're creating, is unique. It's easily identifiable. And so it's that give and take relationship where it's not a two-way street, but for me, it's more of a revolving door. I become a better sewist because I'm able to take in what others are offering to me. And in the same hand, I get to offer to others something that I have learned from someone else. So it's really great to be able to bounce those ideas off of others. It makes me become a more confident sewist. It helps me to become a more confident educator. And I, in turn, get to see those light bulb moments go off and just pay that forward to everyone else. So it's not as though we're, passing each other in the night. It's like this constant revolving door where it just keeps going and going. I feel like all of those things continue to, be that circular motion. And sometimes we turn around and we go back the other direction and we get to revisit that. When I get to share a story, for instance, if there was something that happened in a class and a student said, well, what about this? I get to turn around and share that with someone else. Not only do I get to share it with someone else, but I get to go back to my studio and I get to try that technique. That really has made me a better sewist, and it allows me to take more risks. Sometimes they work out, sometimes they don't, but it's never a failure. It's just an opportunity to say, okay, well, this didn't work. Maybe XYZ does. And that makes me a better sewist. And if I don't have that community, and if I don't have that support and that collaboration with someone that's really being honest with me, especially if it's something I want to really work out and it doesn't, I know that my friend's going to be there and they're going to let me know. It's also a really soft landing spot in the classroom to say, I know you really want that to work, but did you try this? Or don't be afraid to stretch yourself. Maybe you don't think that you're going to love it, but lay it down, audition it, and see what happens. It's that little bit of play that I feel just makes me the most well-rounded individual, and that we get to give that back to each other.
I love that. I love that analogy of the revolving door and how everything kind of goes around and you learn from them and they learn from you and the next person learns from them. And it's almost like a tornado. It just keeps building and building. So
yeah, it really is the best. It's the best feeling, especially when you get to see those students again, or I'm back visiting that shop again, or I see you again, or someone else. And we say, oh my gosh, remember that thing we were talking about? Or last time we were together, or I heard this when I was with you and I shared it with my guild or my local quilt shop or my friend that sews, and they tried it and it worked for them too. It really is the best feeling.
That's awesome. So what tips would you have for people who are looking to find their own sewing community?
Okay, so I will be the first person to tell you, and then my family and my friends would be the next to say, I'm what I classify as an extroverted introvert. Meaning once I found my people and I put myself out there and I take that first step, even though it can be overwhelming, I get nervous, sometimes I get a little bit of anxiety, a little anxious to meet new people, really just giving yourself the opportunity to say hello, to smile at a stranger, it instantly just melts and lets everyone in. That can be really difficult, right? Like I'm the first person to raise my hand and be like, wow, I don't always love walking into a room full of strangers, but I know I'm going to turn around in that moment that we've all broken that ice. It's not new anymore. We're just friends. We've already gotten from that we're brand new to now we're friends. So that's my number one tip is, and take it from me, ask me how I know, extend your hand, extend that smile to someone else that you might not know. My other best tip for finding friends in the sewing community is to treat yourself. And by that, I mean, go and take a class, take a lot of classes. When we were doing our bag maker series at my local quilt shop last summer, almost everyone in the classroom was brand new. A couple might have been sisters, maybe someone recognized someone else from being in the shop. But by the end of the summer, it was legitimately, this is our bag makers club. These are our people. These are our friends. So take a class, but take lots of classes. You're going to meet so many people. You talked about being supported in your guild. I think that that's really important. If you're fortunate enough to have different types of guilds, go to all sorts of different types of meetings. Invite someone to go with you if you're in a guild. Maybe someone hasn't been invited yet. Maybe someone has that apprehension, that they might not feel welcome or don't really know where to start. That can feel really overwhelming. I encourage you to go to a retreat. I just recently taught at a retreat, and I had a brand new retreater that went by herself, didn't know anyone else in the room, and literally 12 hours later We're practically rolling on the floor. It's all full of laughter. We don't want the night to end. You just make all sorts of friends. Is it scary in those first 5 minutes, maybe those first couple of hours? Yes, absolutely. But once it's not new anymore, it's just not new. And then it just becomes this, effervescent flow of they get to welcome the next person in. And the next opportunity that I get to be with them or see them, it's a big hug and how are you? And can you believe how much fun we had last time? So those really are my best tips. If you don't have a local quilt shop to you, maybe you don't have a guild close to you, we do have the power of technology. I encourage you to jump online, jump onto social media. The ByAnnie Bag Makers Club in Facebook, I want to say has 40,000 members or something just like magically wild and massive. And there's always someone on. It doesn't matter if it's 2 a.m. and I'm finishing something or if my brain can't shut down because I had something going on in my head, there's someone that's going to be out there. And that's the best part. Once you've made those connections, there's someone in all of those time zones at all different times of the day, 7 days a week, round robin, there's someone that you're going to be able to reach out to. So those are my best tips.
Those are fabulous tips. And I really can't add anything to that other than absolutely true, all of it. And put yourself out there. I think I would fall in that same realm of an extroverted introvert. I'm perfectly happy to sit in my sewing room all day by myself. But getting out and being around other people just enriches your life so much and adds so much to it. And like you said, even if it's online, that bag makers group is so wonderful for sharing their knowledge and helping people work through problems that they might have. I see every single day someone say, I'm having trouble with this, and immediately there's a long list of potential solutions for them. And that is so nice. And by the same token, don't be afraid to share your knowledge, because sometimes I think when we start, we're so afraid to, they know so much more than I do. We're afraid to chime in and share what we know, and people need to hear that too. So
right. And the way that one person's going to share it might not click right away, but the way that someone else is going to share it does. We all learn in different ways. We communicate in different ways. So that opportunity to really say, oh my gosh, maybe it was already said 10 times, but the way it was worded or the way that it was shown or explained is going to click for that maker. And chances are, if someone's sitting and listening to this right now, sharing that with someone else, you will be helping someone. And then you're of service to someone. I think that's one of the most underrated gifts on the planet, is being of service to each other. So I really think that that's really important.
Exactly. And that is such an important part of it all. So thank you so much, Elissa, for taking time to chat with us today. Where is a good place for people to find you if they want to keep in touch?
Oh, great. So I am on Instagram at quilting_Elissa, Elissa. You can also find me on Facebook, Elissa Ziccardi. You can find me at my website, www.quiltingelissa.com. I'm active in the ByAnnie Bag Makers group. And when I'm not furiously sitting behind my machine, I love to see what everyone's making, what they're creating, and how we can help each other out. I don't think I'm missing any of the other socials. That should about do it.
All right. Well, it's always fun to see what you're up to, and thank you for sharing all of your knowledge and inspiration with all of us. We will see you later.
Bye, Annie. Thank you.
Bye. If you want more Quilting Elissa and ByAnnie content, we filmed an entire episode of Live with Annie. It was titled Pushing the Boundaries, and it was Season 4, Episode 29. Also, keep an eye out for a future collaboration. I can't say any more about it right now, but I know you are going to love it.
For our last stop today, we wanted to visit our friends at Ray-Bon's Sew and Quilt Shop in Fargo, North Dakota. Not only are they the regional winner for North Dakota in the LQS contest 3 years running, but they also won the Quilt Shop highlight in our May photo contest. We loved Ray-Bon team member Jennifer's Beagle Courtside and even got the privilege of seeing it in person at H&H Americas. It's so impressive that Jennifer found time in her busy schedule to make a bag with this level of detailed piecing. Ray-Bon has a full schedule of exciting events. Their ongoing quilting adventures allows participants to earn badges each month for completing different sewing projects. There are currently 28 different badges one can earn, with new ones coming soon. Raybon has also seen increased interest in their youth sewing program. Despite adding more and more sessions, they continue to sell out each time. The next generation of sewists are eager to learn more from Raybon's excellent teachers. Coming up in just a little over a week, on July 1st, Sandy Beneke celebrates 15 years of ownership. To celebrate the occasion, Raybon will be hosting daily Facebook Lives highlighting different memories and milestones. Along with the lives, Raybon has put together carefully crafted project kits for each day. Commemorate their 2012 logo change with a project bag that features a quilt shop with their iconic red door. And celebrate the store being named a top 10 shop by Quilt Sampler magazine by making a runner based on the quilts featured in that magazine. It's got a fabulous new color palette that you're sure to love. We are particularly excited for July 8th, when they'll reminisce on their long relationship with ByAnnie and their first ByAnnie Club by making our pattern Ditty Bags 2.0. Here at ByAnnie, we've always been committed to supporting local quilt shops. These shops aren't just four walls filled with nice fabric. These are the places sewists can go for community and inspiration. We are so grateful for the relationships we've built with these incredible shops and their continued trust in us to produce beautiful patterns and supplies. If you'd like to learn more about any of the shops mentioned in this video, we've written in-depth blogs about their history, products, and accomplishments. You can find these blogs at lqscontest.com. Also, once more, we'd like to thank Elissa Ziccardi with Quilting Elissa for chatting with us. She's truly one of the kindest people we've met in the sewing industry, and we're so glad she was able to share some of her community building tips with us. If you'd like to join the ByAnnie community, please subscribe and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Patterns by Annie. We'd also encourage you to take advantage of the excellent ByAnnie Makers group on Facebook. It has over 44,000 members who share tips for making and customizing our bags. Elissa is one of those members, and I know I'm always a little bit more inspired after I see one of her posts. That's all for today. We hope to see you on July 2nd for our monthly live with Annie. For that episode, Annie will be talking with Amy Lotta about her new fabric collection, Bloom & Sew, for Andover Fabrics. Annie's been extra busy sewing models using that collection and is incorporating some fun patchwork. You won't want to miss it. Until then, thank you so much for watching, and happy stitching!